tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
What are you doing?
It's a Sterling dance.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was kind of getting down.
What am I doing?
Dude, that's what dude, that was so funny. Sterling is my dude.
Yes.
What's up, everybody? As you already know, this is the Hell's Kitchen after show. Name of this is the Top 13 Compete. This is also season 13, so there's a lot of 13s going on. You know, maybe it's lucky, maybe it's not. I am your host, Lim Gonsalvez, and I can't do this alone, ladies and gentlemen. With me tonight, with the leather shoulder pads, y'all give it up for Marielou Mandl. With the Sterling dance.
Sterling dance. Hi, guys.
Oh my gosh. So speaking of Sterling, let's get right into this. Let's do this.
Yes.
So first of all, I'm gonna go on record by saying that, just pat myself on the back there. We were talking, and of course, I was talking with my boy, you know what I'm saying, who we do the show with as well. Tell me his name, please.
Jeff
Therm.
Hey,
Jeff
friend.
Therm, shout out. I just want you to say it because, you know, we miss him, and, you know, he's not here with us today, but he's with us in spirit.
Yes.
So Jeff and I were talking last week, and we were talking about predictions, and he said, you know, I think Sterling might be in trouble. And so I said, not so, my brother, because I knew that when he told him, and this is Chef Ramsay I'm talking about, to take off his jacket and then it went off, that he was not going to get eliminated. Somebody had already been eliminated. Because I'm such an advocate and an avid watcher of the show, I knew that the red team had 2 people down. And so what he was going to do is, because of the unevenness, he was going to put Sterling on the red team. So that's what I predicted, and it blew Jeff's mind. Like, poof, he was like, oh my gosh.
That could happen.
Right. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It happened like I said it. That's how I roll, son. Get your life together.
Got it.
Yes.
Win.
Yes. So, like I said, he went on the red team. But the red team was not very happy about that.
They're not very happy about that.
What's up with the red team? Why don't they want Mr. Sterling on the team?
I am very excited that into this part of the season we're getting into cliffhangers, because that's very exciting, because at the end of the previous episode when they were like, I'm not done yet, I definitely was like, oh, what's going to happen? And then when this one starts and he's like, Sterling, take off your coat.
Right.
Is he gone? Like, he can't be gone. Like, he's so fun to watch.
Exactly.
I'm glad that he got reallocated, because we get to see him in a new environment.
Right.
And see how different people deal with him.
Right.
Now, they're already annoyed with him because maybe what they've heard from the other team, and he has a lot of energy.
Right.
And I think right now the red team has a lot of tension.
Absolutely.
A lot of tension. And bringing in this extra element, he just came in with a target on his back.
Oh, absolutely. I think anybody that went over to the red team would have had issues, but I think him the most, simply because he is very outspoken, but also I don't think people respect him as a chef or as a cook. So I think that's a lot of what it's, you know, has to do with it. I know Jennifer, you know, her words were we're screwed. You know, we're screwed. He's on our team. Now it's going to go down, you know, what have you. I think, and I do like his, I call it the assumption dance, because he...
Can we do this real quick, Lem?
This is the assumption that we gotta have him on our show.
Please,
man, Sterling, you gotta call in. You have to. I know it's like probably 2 in the morning where you are because of the time difference, but bruh, you need to stay up late one time and call in, because we would love to have you on the show. It's going to happen.
Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to happen. So he does the assumption dance, and that's what he does. Like, he doesn't take himself too seriously, which is what I like and respect about Sterling. I think he is a hard worker, but I think he's definitely misunderstood.
And my favorite moment in the entire season so far was last week with Sterling, and he had his haters speech.
Yes.
What is it? Having anger towards everyone reaching success.
Yes, that was so amazing.
Put this on a t-shirt.
Right. I wanted to put it above my room.
Yes.
Like above my bed. So when I wake up every morning, it's like a Sterling-ism. And this is above my bed. And I'm like, haters, come on, because I got you.
Let's do this. That's why I think he's going to be fine. You know, so the red team doesn't like him. Right. So what?
Yeah. I mean, and I said this before, me and Jeff were talking about this. I don't believe he's going to win. Just because knowing the nature of the show, I don't think he's strong enough as a chef. I do think he's going to last a long time simply because he is fun to watch. And I think the people that run the show, the producers, they want to have him on as long as, you know, it can happen.
And I really want the Sterling spin-off show.
Cooking with Sterling. Yes, I would so be watching that show. And we would, like I said, we said this before, we do an after show for it. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So
100%.
Right, exactly. So going into the challenge, we all know that when they come in, it starts a new day usually. They come in for, you know, whatever their challenge is. This particular time, they come out into the kitchen area. Chef Ramsay is standing there, and there's a huge map of Italy behind him. And he starts putting off, you know, different foods that come from different regions of Italy. Everybody, you know, and our boy, I call him Guido. He was like so excited. Like this is what he lives for.
That's his jam.
He's a true Italian.
Yes.
And so when he saw that, he's like, oh my gosh, this is going down. And the amazing part was after he says, hold on, wait a second. They pull back the tarp and there's like an opera. I don't know if you call it an opera choir. I don't think that's.
Yeah, it was a tableau of opera singers and they were just getting it done. Yeah, yeah, holding it down. They did a whole like segment from some, I'm sure, play or something. I can't sing opera. That was lovely though.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I practiced right before the show. But they're singing and of course it has to do with Italy. So the entire challenge has to do with Italy. So why don't you explain the challenge?
So the teams, the red team and the blue team, had to choose an opponent to go head-to-head against. The opera singers had little tablets, not tablets, they're sheets of paper that had different dishes on.
Kind of like a scroll.
A scroll, yes. And on the side that we see initially has different operas, names of different operas, and on the other side is the dish that they need to use in the challenge against the person they pick. So it was just neat strategy here because whichever team got to choose their opponent kind of got to pick somebody they feel they could do better than. Right. You know, it's a neat strategy.
Right, right.
And then the second person got to pick the opera, then I turned it around to whatever their dish was.
And they didn't know ahead of time what it was.
Yes, they didn't.
It turned around.
Yeah, that's like the randomness of it.
Right.
And what was neat, it was like the first few, I was like, all right, tortellini, I know what that is. Fettuccine Alfredo, which was, I think was the last one, but I was like, that I recognized. But there were two that I had no idea what they were.
Yeah, there was one that
Salt and Bocca?
Yeah, I wrote that down. I've never heard of that.
And that is, so I looked it up. It is in Italian from the website that I went to, said jumps in the mouth.
Jumps in the mouth?
Is Italian salt and bocca is jumps in the mouth.
Really?
But it's a veal lined with prosciutto.
Oh.
And it sounds delicioso.
It does sound. Prosciutto is bacon, and I love bacon.
Yum.
So I'm about that life.
Yes. And then the other one was the linguine vongoli, which, pretty simple, it's just vongoli with clams.
With clams.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Right.
Got it.
You guys are making me hungry.
I know. Let's eat.
I was hungry watching the show because they were making some really good stuff. So Sterling got paired with Bryant, and he basically was kind of, wanting that. Frank got paired with Roe. Ashley got paired with Fernando. Jennifer got paired with Steve. Santos, Latasha, Aaron, and Sade.
Yeah.
And so they picked their dishes accordingly. Frank, like we were saying, he's just in hog heaven. He's cooking his dish. He's like, I feel like, what was it, like the music they played? And he's like, he's making love to, he's like, oh, yes. Like
he was very amorous with his dish.
He loved it. Like, but that's his wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's Italian. He cooks Italian food, so, and I was waiting to see how he was going to do in this challenge because a lot of times in past seasons, they've had a dish that's been in their wheelhouse and then all of a sudden they kill it and like not in a good way. Like it's just all bad. Either they don't win for their team or the dish scores really low depending on the challenge or what have you. So I was waiting to see if he was going to, live up to the hype.
Yeah.
So.
And he did well.
He did. He did. the red team won the first round, and that was Jennifer. Then Fernando won for the blue team. Latasha won for the red team. And then Frank won for the blue team.
Yes.
Mr.
And then
Frank.
the guy who was the judge, Celestino Drago, he
Yes.
said that this reminded him of his grandma's cooking.
Yes.
I was like, whoa,
Yes.
that's got to be intense to hear
Yes.
that from this guy. He's Mr. Italy is what
Yeah.
Latasha had called him.
Right.
He's a very big deal in the chef world.
Okay.
And he's been running high-end Italian restaurants in LA, his family has, since the 1980s.
Wow.
Like, just rocking the Italian world.
Like that's his joint.
Yes. So for somebody like Frank, who loves Italian cooking in America, like this has to be a big deal for him.
Huge compliment.
Yeah.
Very huge
Like he
compliment.
came right up, he shook his hand and he
Right.
says, "Hi, I'm Frank." And then for this guy, for Celestino Drago to say,
Right.
"Your dish reminded me of my grandma." Like who doesn't love their grandma's cooking?
Exactly. Exactly. No, I thought it was a great compliment, and I'm sure Frank was just loving it.
Yeah.
You know, because that's it sounded like once he said his name, he knew exactly who he was. So it's like, you're an actor and you love Denzel, and Denzel sees you act and gives you this bomb compliment. You're like on cloud nine.
Yeah.
So that kudos to Frank. Bryant won for the blue team. He was the last one to win. And so the blue team ended up winning. And he actually beat out Sterling, which I really thought Sterling was going to pull it out. Like I was really rooting for him because, of course, he's on the red team now. So he feels some kind of way. He's trying to, put it down for the red team. That's the team he's on. They did comment and say when someone tasted his dish, they said it was too spicy. And he said, no, I think it's good. So I had a feeling because they showed that was going to somehow bite him later. And it did because he did, when they tasted it. And I think it was Celestine that said that.
I believe so, yeah.
He said it's kind of spicy. So it was either him or Chef Ramsay. But then also Bryant's dish didn't get a lot of praise either from what we saw.
Right.
So I thought because of that, I was like, oh, Sterling's going to get it. Sterling's going to get it. Sterling's going to get it. He calls out Bryant's name. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
So the blue team won. Red team got etched out. But it wasn't like it was Sterling's fault because obviously there were people on the red team. And interestingly enough, there was a team that didn't get any points.
Yeah.
And actually that team was Sade's team. Sade was the person on the red team.
Right.
Didn't get any points. And she was paired up with Aaron. So Aaron didn't get a point for the blue team. Sade didn't get a point for the red team.
They just said, can't choose.
Exactly.
Get away from me.
And I thought that was interesting too because Sade's, I would consider her a front runner. She definitely is vocal in the kitchen. She likes to kind of run things when it comes to the kitchen. Her and Ro kind of do that back and forth. So I would say they're the two strong ones. But for her to not even get a point, that says a lot.
It does. It really does.
That says a lot. So
even though in Ro's challenge against Frank, she didn't get the point, but it did get good compliments.
Exactly. Yeah, but to not get any points.
For like both chefs, like one is not even good enough to get a pity point.
Yeah, exactly. Like nothing. That means both of them were nasty.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. So, like we said, the blue team wins. They get to shop at the America Rag.
American Rag.
Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there, but I've heard of it, and I love shopping. And if I got $3,000 to just go get goods,
that was like $500 a piece.
Yeah, it'd be over.
Yeah, it could be. And it must have been some. Well, it must have been some expensive place. It looked like it was on Melrose or something. That's what the area looked like. But they each had $500. You see the bags they brought back? Like there were little bags. Like it was like one bag each, and the bag was kind of small. So I'm like,
right. But celebrities shop there. It's a little more high end.
I would think so. I
mean, they're getting suit jackets.
Right. Well, they were trying them on.
Well, trying on suit jackets.
I don't know if anyone bought one, but they would definitely try them on.
I know. I do wish they would have shown us what they bought.
Yeah, they just had it in the bag. They just had little bags.
And I thought this was a missed opportunity to have a stylist come on.
Oh, and be there.
Just help them shop, even if they didn't pick anything.
Well, who was it that said, I need my wife?
Santos.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
He's like, I need my wife. I'm in trouble. I can't pick my own clothes. I'm like, come on, bruh. Really? You can't pick your own clothes?
I love Frank in the mirror. He's like, this jacket.
Yeah.
Gotta take it in. Gotta take it down. Like, it was great.
And then this is the funny part because I really don't see Frank as the amazing dresser, but they were all like, oh, what is Frank gonna get? Like they were all diverting to him. And so I thought, that's who you're okay. Everyone's gonna look like Guido, but that's cool because he did walk out with that like white belt and like I don't know.
Right. Well, if it might not have been a style that was my taste, he did have a style.
He had style.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, just not my style.
Right.
Or your style. Or maybe 80% of the people.
Right.
But it's all good.
I liked his watch.
Okay.
I noticed a watch. It looked nice.
Watch. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Good.
He has good styling watches.
Good.
All right. So they eat at also Taconi's, which is an amazing Italian restaurant. Again, it's here in LA. These restaurants, like what I'm doing now is I'm like writing them down and making mental notes because I want to go try them like later, especially if I haven't been there. And most of them I haven't been there yet. So, but this looked like they had some amazing Italian. I mean, they were eating all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like they had a super spread, and he guys kept bringing up more and more. And again, Frank, he was in hog heaven, like just. He's like, oh, this food is, when they were doing his spot. And he's just like, oh, like he was speechless.
Yes.
Like he couldn't even talk. It was just like, it was just, I mean, he was speechless.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that he is passionate about
Right.
the type of food he's passionate about.
Right.
And that just for me, if I see a chef that's like that is eating somebody else's food and instead of being hypercritical, it's just like, oh, this is so great. I love this. I love that. You can find the joy in other people's cooking because I could see some chefs being like, well, I could have done it different.
Right.
No,
That's
he was
true.
loving it.
And especially if it's a food that you cook. And this is definitely food that he cooked. So he could have been that way, but why do that?
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
But he's also, when he's cooking, he's very amorous with his food in general. He's like, oh, the chicken is beautiful. The steak is beautiful. Like, it's fun.
True.
At least he's having fun while he's cooking.
Right. Not everyone's doing that. The red team, of course, had the punishment, and they got to extract squid ink.
Yes, because they're making for a special dish for Italian night in Hell's Kitchen with squid ink tagliatelle.
Right. Which
And
is something I'm not familiar with.
Not sound like something I want to eat.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I heard that. I was like, I think I'll pass.
Yeah.
I think I'll pass. But it looked like it was very arduous. Taking out the ink sac, and there was like ink everywhere and squid pieces, and it was not pleasant.
No.
Like whatsoever. So, which obviously the punishments are never pleasant. Let's keep it real. Sterling, he got a little talkative, and he starts asking Chef Andy, who really, the sous chefs, they really don't do a lot of talking.
Right.
You really don't see them. You kind of just see them at the pass during service. Of course, they may give them, like, if they have to eat something crazy, they give that to them. They may have some choice words here and there, but you never really see them have dialogue with the chefs like that. And Sterling, he's like, well, I'm going to take this moment to get to know Chef Andy.
Yeah.
Hey, Chef Andy, how you doing? You got kids? You're married? You're single?
Right.
You got, what's your social security number? Like, he was just asking all these, like questions, and she's like, that's too much.
I see that the red team was annoyed with that.
Right.
I'm not mad at it because I like to get to know people.
Right.
Where some people may not know when, like, read the room a little bit.
Right.
I give him that note, right? Read the room if they're not interested. But he was making an effort. Obviously, there were tensions, and he was the new guy on the team. So why not be the first one to be like, hi, nice to meet you. Let me get to know you.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and that's just basically Sterling's personality. But you said the key thing, read the room. That wasn't the time to kind of be doing that. And I think that's where he fell short. Everybody's cooking, everybody's focused on what they're doing and prepping and all this kind of stuff that's going on, and he wants to hold a conversation. I'm not mad at him at all because, again, Sterling's my boy.
Because if he wants to call and get to know us,
call
in.
Exactly. We're going to make it happen. But that's where he fell short. He was, talking when he shouldn't have been talking. And of course, he keeps getting shut down. And after a while, he's just like, okay, I'm not going to talk anymore. So he kind of got the hint, so to speak. So, but, and then like in the kitchen, he just looked a little lost. He kind of was trying to figure out where everything was. And now granted, he's not used to the red kitchen, and I'm sure that the red kitchen operates differently than the blue kitchen did that he was on. So I do give him that credit, but he does seem a little spacey at times, even in the service.
Right. And when they were showing him the layout of the red kitchen, it did alarm me that some of the prep items, he was like, what is this? What is this? Where's this go? Well,
exactly.
Your kitchen, from what it looks like, the kitchens are mirror, where some of the stations might be in different places, but you could probably quickly figure out this is hot apps, this is seafood, this is meat.
Right.
Because they probably have the same equipment.
Right.
It's a stage.
Well, I'm pretty sure they have the same equipment.
Right.
Like, I think we can guarantee they have the same equipment.
So that did concern me.
Right. And they said that. They said these are things that he should know. So why are you asking these generic questions? Like you didn't just come here today.
Right.
You've been here already.
Well, it could have been a tactic to kind of open them up and start conversations.
Right.
Like maybe he is smarter than we think. And 'cause I've seen people do that. I've seen people do that. Where
I
they're
don't
like,
know.
You know more than me. Tell me the answer.
Well, I mean, yeah, could have been. I
doubt it.
I seriously doubt it. But, you know, we can give him the benefit of the doubt. We
Come
can
on.
say, you know.
I'm rooting for Sterling here.
I'm rooting for him too. So I'm right there with you. If I feel like he was doing something in that way, I would say it. I don't think he was doing that. But however, I do appreciate the fact that he was being himself.
Yes.
We'll say that.
Yes.
Sterling's going to be himself, and I can see him being himself to the end of this thing.
Be you, Sterling.
Right. He's not going to change for anybody. So they also mentioned VIP guests that were coming in.
VIPs.
Right. From the Italian consulate, which I've never seen. I mean, they do. I will say that with Hell's Kitchen, I've seen just about every season, and they typically try to bring new things. I mean, there's a lot of things that are very similar, like the services, like the food that they choose. But I feel like every season they try to do something new or bring somebody on new that they haven't done before. And this is the first time that I can remember them bringing the actual consulate on.
Yeah.
And people from there. So this was the Italian consulate. Obviously,
Yes.
it made sense. They were doing Italian food that night. So interesting. Which later on, and we're going to get into that, but there's a little snafu and some food gets sent back from that table.
That table.
And that's really bad because, of course, Chef Ramsay does not like you playing with his VIPs.
No.
Yeah. Whenever it's VIP or somebody at the chef table, it's all bad.
Yeah.
You need to get, if you're not going to get anything right, you need to get that right. Also, if he has his family there, sometimes on family nights, he'll bring his kids in and his wife. And if you mess up their food, again, it's all bad.
It's over because those are the ultimate VIPs.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, so we'll start with the service. Service starts, and we'll start with the blue team. Steve immediately starts messing up the appetizers.
Steve.
Come on, what are you doing?
Can we not, Steve? Like, speed it up.
Right.
We're running, like, this is a competition, and it's also a restaurant. You've been in a restaurant, light a fire under it, and get these things underway. And even, Chef Ramsay was like, oh, we're going to do this on your time? Fine. Whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready.
This is the thing with Steve. I feel like Steve thinks he's better than what he is. I think there's a lot of times that he gets called on the carpet, especially like during deliberations, which happened tonight during this episode. He gets called on the carpet and he feels like, oh, why are you, what? I didn't do anything wrong. But there's like ample times that we see him messing up. Either he's going too slow or he messes up the appetizer or he doesn't hear the order right. I mean, there's something that's going on to where he's not working, you know, with perfection like some of the other chefs that are doing, you know, on clockwork, they're on time, all that kind of stuff. So I'm getting kind of tired of him. Like, I'm getting kind of tired of him, and I kind of want him to go because, again, I don't like when people are thinking that they're better than what they are. And I think clearly he is a prime example of that. Jennifer is also one of those on the red team. I do not care for Jennifer at all. I feel like she's the same way. And she actually did good on the risotto. So I was like, dang it.
Well, for like the first time, the risotto thing, can somebody please send me the recipe for risotto?
Or scallops.
Or scallops. Risotto or scallops. I feel like before the end of this season, I'm going to try and cook them. I'm going to bring them in. And we're going to see. Is this really that hard? Because even... And I think the episode before, Chef Ramsay's like, it's 50 seconds on one side, 50 seconds on the other.
For the scallops.
For the scallops.
Right.
And it's done.
Right.
What's the problem?
And then he still messed it up. After the tutorial, he still messed it up. We talked about that.
Good Lord.
So, I mean, it's just interesting that, even if you have never cooked scallops before you got on Hell's Kitchen, or you've never cooked risotto before you got on the show, you cook this stuff every single night. Every night it's on the menu. Now, granted, and me and Jeff were talking about this, they obviously rotate stations to make it fair. You can't be on fish every single time. You can't be on apps every single time because then can't see what you can really do. But even still, you're going to be doing it probably more than once. So you need to learn. And there's ways to practice. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
that's why I'm curious. Like, if you think... Because the kitchen is in the same place where they sleep, would they be able to go in and practice some things?
I'm sure that there's a way to try and do it. I mean, there's got to be a way.
There's got to be a way.
Why would you? I mean, you can't be on the show and not be able to get better. Like, you know, on your own time. Like, I can just totally see that. Whether people do that or not, you know, who knows? They don't air that kind of thing unless there's some drama attached to it. But I will say, at the very least, especially after seeing that tutorial that he did about the scallops, like, come on now. Yeah. I feel like I could go on that show and cook scallops well. Right. Maybe not risotto, but scallops, yes. But
risotto's an issue from previous seasons too, right?
Risotto's always an issue.
I don't know if I would even apply for the show if I couldn't rock a risotto.
Well, risotto and scallops are an issue. That's the thing. Like, this is my thing. If I was I was going to be on the show, those, if nothing else, those are two things that I'm going to practice and before I get on the show, and I'm going to know perfectly.
And that will be Lem's legacy on Hell's Kitchen. It's risotto and scallops. We said it here today. So you get on the show.
Exactly.
Bring it in. Maybe we need to have a challenge before the end.
Maybe so. And I will say, and I did the same principle. I went into the military, and this was years and years ago. And I knew that I had to be able to do a certain amount of push-ups before I got there, because they test you right when you get there. And if you can't do this certain amount of push-ups, then you end up having to go to an extra course where you just do push-ups and sit-ups before you even start the basic training. So I did not want to do that. So I made sure that I could do, if nothing else, the bare minimum of push-ups before I got there. And I tried it out, and I did. Yeah. Because I didn't want to spend that extra time. I knew it was going to be an issue. Same thing here. I would feel like you would utilize the same principle because you watched, come on now, you know you've seen at least one season. Yes. If not one episode. If you're going to be in the show, you've got to at least see
research.
Exactly. You got to know what you're getting into. And they do a season for like every other month.
Yeah.
So there's no
chances.
excuses. Exactly. You can watch it online, whatever. Prepare yourself. That's what I'm saying. So, but it seems like they haven't. And granted, yes, it is a high profile kitchen. There's a lot going on. Chef Ramsay's cursing at you and yelling at you, and their yelling times or whatever. But at the end of the day, cooking is cooking. That's how I feel. So regardless, if you obviously have the ample time to cook, he's not making you cook something you can't do, but come on now.
Yeah.
Get your life.
It really is science, right? There is like a specific way to make that dish. It's not like do something creative with the risotto. Right. With this dish, this is how the risotto is supposed to be.
Cook it right.
So do it that way.
Just cook it right.
You guys just do it that way.
Here we are. We're not even chefs, and we're just talking. They're like, you don't know nothing.
You try to cook a risotto. Next week we're gonna be like,
right. No, I'm so sad. I can't do it. I suck. All right. So, like we said, Jennifer does good with the risotto. Bryant is being awkward tableside. So Bryant and Sade had to be tableside with this clam dish that looked very cumbersome.
Yes.
And he's being very awkward tableside with, like, he's trying to talk to people, but
with the consulate.
Yeah, and just like he's not, like, I don't know if he's trying to tell jokes, but he's just being really weird.
Well, they had him at other tables and he seemed fine. But when they had him at the consulate, that's where the awkward stuff started happening. Right. I wonder if there was a language barrier or a nerve situation because it's the VVIPs.
It could have been both. But to the point where you can't say the name, because that's where he was being. He couldn't even say the name of the dish right. He called clams mussels or mussels clams, one of the two.
Yeah, because the dish was clam cipollini. He called it mussels cipollini. Whoops, dropped it. I mean clams. Sorry.
Do the robot. So, yeah.
Wait, Sterling dance.
Shake it up. So, yeah, he was being awkward. Sade actually dropped food on the floor.
Oh, gosh.
Almost like narrowly missing some guy's leg. And then the maitre d' was like, are you okay? Did you get burned?
Out of the pan.
Right, exactly.
Marino, the maitre d', I love him. I wish we could see more of him. I wish we could see more of what his personality is.
You like him? You think he's attractive? Is that what you're saying?
No, I like him.
Oh, you just like his
when
aura.
he came in and he was like, listen, you almost burned the person. You burned the guest. You can't do this. And then they show him side-eyeing her, like watching her. You better not do it again. Not in my restaurant.
Right, exactly.
Not in my restaurant.
He's pretty militant. He's pretty, like, he's running, you can tell he runs a tight ship with the waitresses and waiters that are there. He knows what he's doing. Obviously, Chef Ramsay has him on there for a reason. But, yeah, he was giving her kind of the side eye. He definitely was, checking her out. So, yeah, she drops the food. She feels horrible about it because, again, she is, a good chef and, it was a mistake. She made a mistake, basically what it is. Back to the blue team, Frank messes up steak. So Frank, Guido, a.k.a. Guido, he is, again, loving on his food. And he's, I got this. Steak. This is me. Da-da-da-da. He's cooking up the steaks and brings it up The steak is raw. It's undercooked. But then he turns around and blames Steve because Steve had messed up his, I think he had chicken that he brought up, and the chicken was all messed up too. So, but he blames Steve for his messed up steak. Like, why did he do that?
Well, Frank said, Chef says, your steak is not done.
Right.
This is raw.
Right.
With some explicatives, I'm sure. And Frank was like, oh, I grabbed the wrong one. I'll be right back. And then Chef grabs his hand. He's like, listen, player, we got to talk about this. And then the chicken comes up.
Right.
And it's overcooked. We've got a raw steak, an overcooked chicken. And then, of course, Frank is like, oh, yeah, but why would you bring that up here? Like, deflecting.
Exactly.
Deflecting.
And that's the one issue that I have with Frank. He doesn't like to own up to like his mistakes. You know, he's another one. I don't think he's as bad as who we were talking about earlier, Steve. I don't think he's as bad as him, but I think he also thinks he's kind of better than what he is. So I don't know, but I think that's just his personality. Yeah, he's just very, you know, that's him. He's Guido. That's why I call him Guido, with the slick back hair. So, but he blames him. I didn't like that. Red team, Ro messes up the steak as well. Ro's also one that, you know, usually does well. I would say she's a front runner on the red team for sure, but she messed up the steak. Yes. And then she almost bites it like super hard, trying to run the steak over.
What was going on in Hell's Kitchen today that everybody was falling or dropping things?
It was like there was butter on the floor.
Yes.
Like somebody put, I think Chef Ramsay.
The squid ink.
Like, maybe that's it.
Squid ink on the floor.
Spread it on the floor. That's what it was there for.
You guys, don't do that.
That's what it was there. It was all over the floor, and, you know, that was the challenge. Part of the challenge was to balance yourself as you're cooking.
But she saved the steak. She just slipped a little bit, but she saved the steak.
She did, and I was very proud of her because that took some flexibility.
Yes, it did.
Aaron, our boy Aaron on the blue team, he starts drowning. But instead of asking for help or the help that's being offered, he, you know, obliging and taking it, he like is telling people to get away.
Oh my gosh, you have to communicate. They're telling him, do you need help? What do you need? What can I do? What can I do? He just says nothing. He doesn't say I'm behind. He doesn't say I'm okay. He just says nothing. He just shuts down. Right. And that I cannot take. No. When you're working in a team situation, if you're frustrated, even if you have to say, listen, I'm frustrated, I'm behind, but you have to say something. Because if you just shut down, sorry, you'd be out of my team.
Yeah, and like I said, he wasn't communicating at all. You just mentioned that. And then he even, to the point, pushed Steve, like, out the way. Like, no, get out of my way. Like, pushed him in the back. And Steve seems like the kind of guy like, oh, no.
You're not going to put your hands on me.
Right. And I'm sure he, you know, held himself back because they're cooking and doesn't want to get in trouble, obviously, and start anything. But I thought that was really messed up. I really thought that was messed up. It was uncalled for. He was in the weeds. He should have, you know, the help that was being offered to him, they was offered him for a reason. I think he just didn't want to look like he couldn't handle it. Yeah. And I think he was one of those, he's that type of person or that type of cook or chef that's like, no, I got it. I don't need help. I got it. Even though if I'm 90 minutes late, I'm going to do it. Yeah. But without the help.
But you have to get the help.
Exactly.
Because it's a kind of scenario where there's so many moving parts that one falling behind will ruin the rest of the train. And so if you don't open your mouth, then the rest of the train is just pushing up behind you.
Exactly.
And then it can ruin the rest of it.
Right.
So it's horrible.
Right.
Like, I can't take that. You have to talk to somebody. Open your mouth.
Open your mouth. So, Ashley, we haven't mentioned her yet. This is... So, bless her heart. She's so special. I swear she always looks high every time the camera's on her. Like when she does her close-up and she's talking, she really looks like she just smoked right before the interview. Like, or she's sleepy. One of the two is going on, but I just really, my heart goes out to her. Like, I don't know. I want to give her a hug. Like, I don't know. I was like, oh, Ashley, it's okay. But she's the one, we mentioned this earlier about having the food that came back. Yeah. And it was the consulate that had her food, calamari. I think it was the dish. Was it the dish with the clams or whatever? And it got sent back because the calamari was raw.
Was raw. And now my issue here with this is when Chef Ramsay says, these are my VVIPs, then you would think that's the table you need to make perfect.
Right.
I don't think that's too complicated.
Right. And he does say, like, he's like, this is for the VIPs. So it's not you don't know which table it is. He makes sure to state it.
This plate.
Exactly.
It's going to the VIPs. You ready for this?
Right. But, you know, she didn't do it any justice. Right. And when it came back, found out it was Ashley, of course, that cooked that. And so, of course, she gets reamed.
Yeah. I was surprised that dish got past the sous chefs, like got out to the table.
I mean, it's one of those things. Obviously, Chef Ramsay's he's at the pass. He's looking at everything. But we also had this discussion. I think me and Jeff were talking about it. It might have been when all three of us were here. But he cannot physically, because he's in between two kitchens, he can't see every single thing that goes out, which is why he has the sous chefs. So they're responsible for making sure everything goes to the pass right. I will say, though, with that being the calamari being raw, I think that's something that's hard to detect.
Hard to detect, but so he can't see every dish, but that is the VVIP table. So I feel like in a real restaurant situation, he would have actually inspected all of those, but raw calamari would be hard to
I think it was just one of those things hard. Because there's been times that stuff has also come back that undercooked or whatever. You just maybe couldn't see it with the naked eye, what have you. But the bottom line has happened. So, and poor Ashley. But as a result, the whole red team gets kicked out. Done.
Bye, guys.
Done. So, time for eliminations. He declares no team wins, so each team has to go back and pick two people to put up for elimination. So the red team, they go back and deliberate, and they gang up on Ro. I think they really are intimidated by her. And so she did not have a perfect service, so I think they took the opportunity to kind of be like, oh, she's done. You didn't do good. You should be put up for elimination. I think exactly that's what it was. I
agree, because she even knows it.
Right.
Even Ro knows it. And she's the rock star. She didn't have perfect service, but she's the strong one.
Exactly. And, you know, you want to get rid because you don't want to see her, you know, in the finals. With the blue team, they kind of harped on Steve, you know, kind of did that with him, which I kind of side with that. I think that was justifiable because, again, he hasn't been doing well. He really thinks he's better than what he is, like I said before, and I think it's just time to go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He was put up. So we had the red team. Being put up was Ashley and Ro. Blue team was Aaron and Steve. So I do agree for the most part, maybe not with the red team. I don't think Ro should have went up. I think it could have been someone else. But I think overall, you know, they were good picks to go up. When I looked at it, I was like, Ashley's going home.
Yeah.
Out of those four, Ashley's definitely going home. I wanted Steve to go home. I really wanted him to go home because, like I said, how I feel about him and his little attitude. But I think of the four, I was like, Ashley's going to go home. Of course, he announces who goes home. It's Ashley.
Yeah. And she's devastated.
She is devastated. She's very sad. She's crying. She's very emotional.
Yeah.
But I really think...
not leadership material.
No, she's not leadership material. And I think she was kind of, for the most part, she was skating by. That's my opinion. So she leaves. And then we have a to be continued kind of thing going on. And they like doing this to us because he says he's not done. And then it's to be continued. So
I love it. Give me more of that.
But let's do that. And let's take that and segue right into predictions.
Right on.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, so Sterling's now on the red team. Marielou, Mandl. What do you predict? Or let me phrase this correctly. How long do you think Sterling is going to last on the red team?
Oh, geez. Well, I hope longer than not, because I do enjoy seeing him, but I very quickly could see the red team ganging up on him in the next few episodes and say, you know, let's get rid of Sterling.
Trying to push him out.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me a number. Ooh. How many weeks?
I'm going to say 4.
4 weeks.
4.
Okay, interesting.
Which may be liberal. That could be wishful thinking.
I think it is wishful thinking.
Yeah, what do you think?
I would say, I'm going to give it 3.
3?
I think he can last. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to be eliminated. So we have next episode, and then I think he's gone.
Okay.
Because I think that there are people that are not kind of still skating by, that light hasn't just shined on them, that aren't perfect, but they just haven't been voted up yet because nobody's voting them in.
Yeah.
So not so much. The only difference, or the only issue I would say, is that I think there's weaker people on the blue team, the team he used to be on, than it's on the red team. So it's very possible he can go even further. But if the red team wins or they win services, of course they don't have to vote.
Right.
Which is what I'm kind of banking on. I'm banking that the red team will win services, and then it'll get to the point where when they do have to vote, then he's going to get voted in.
Totally.
That's why I say 3.
Right. That makes sense.
So, but we'll see. We would like you to know. Well, actually, we would, how do I want to say that? We want you to tell us what you think, because you already know, because you're smart and you're the guest. But we want you to comment. We want you to go to iTunes. We want you to download iTunes. Make sure you do that. Hell's Kitchen After Show. It is the #1 after show on iTunes here at AfterBuzz TV. Make sure you do that. It's free. It's a great download. Do that, and we will love you. And you want to give us 5 stars. Rate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stars is what you want to give us. But that's how we roll. And we know what else? That's the end of our show.
Yeah.
That is the end of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us. I am, again, your host, Lim Gonsalvez. You can find me on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Everything is at The Poet Saint. Marielou, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Marielou Mandl, MarieLouMandl.
ODL! Ladies and gentlemen, good night. We'll see you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.